If you download ASA 2009 from the website, there is a piece by Vilima Vadhva in which she controlled for various factors. Now, in some states, where the percentage of private schools is smaller, you can see that there is a big difference between private schools and government schools. That is because of basically they are higher income private schools. But there are states like Haryana, Rajasthan, UP, where there is a proliferation of private schools, even in rural areas. And there are sometimes affordable so-called private schools. So what you see there is probably an 8 percentage point advantage in the skills that we measure in these states for the private schools.
Okay.
But then in these states, if you control for the family income, education of the mother, connectivity of the village, those kinds of things, then the difference essentially disappears.
Okay.
That means it is not because of the school that the child is learning. It is because of the parent or the family background or the circumstances that the child is learning better.
Okay. Maybe a better
self-selection. In private school, there is a self-selection.
Okay.
And in there, it's not like, there is not a huge difference. See, ultimately, the teachers and the children are coming from the same stock. It's not, and then the teachers in private schools are neither better paid nor better qualified.
Okay.
All they have in there, the only difference is that the management makes sure that the teacher is there every day. And the children, there may be attendance difference in private schools. We have not measured that. So children will regularly and all those kinds of things. So there is a certain modicum of discipline. Now, when we measured English learning, we found that English learning in private schools was slightly better, but we were only measuring identification of alphabets and reading of certain words and so on. It's a very, very low level. So there you see an advantage in the private schools. And that is sometimes mistaken for a better education, but that may not be. That is not true.
So what is the cause of this learning gap? And I'm not using the word learning disability.
I told you.
One is a lack of focus on outcomes.
So we are not building basic competencies. We are not looking at that at all.
Okay.
What happens is in the first standard, if you take a look at how many, you take the state of UP. If you have the in front of you.
I've seen the Kerala is doing very well, I thought.
It's not doing very well. Kerala has not improved in the last 5 years. And in Kerala, look at the math learning. It's poor.
Okay.
So what is Kerala good at? Nothing. And the private schools and government schools are almost parallel, equal. Because most of the private schools are government aided schools. So they are almost like private schools, government schools.
So the focus on competency is not there in schools, and that is why this happens. Is that
so? By 5th standard, if you decide that by 5th standard, the child should be able to read texts of a certain standard independently, comprehend, and connect the text with something of his life or whatever. So level of comprehension, if you decide that should be a primary goal, then you start working towards it from 1st standard.
Okay.
Then your goal is that by 5th standard, the child should be able to understand quantities and should be able to read a problem, strategize and solve it. If that is what you want, and if you say that I want 80% of the children to be able to do these problems which involve simple mathematical operations, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division with 3 figures, 3-digit numbers, then you focus on that, then you build from below. And that is already in the curriculum. But what happens is, frankly, the schools are told, and this is now unfortunately also included in the Right to Education Act, which says that the teacher will complete the portion.
Okay.
What that means is that the teacher is forced to teach all the textbook lessons.
Okay.
So as long as the teacher has gone from lesson 1 to lesson 20, it doesn't matter that all the children are following up to lesson 20. The child may not even understand lesson number 1.
But how does the child pass the examination of lesson number standard 2, standard 3, standard 4?
So anybody can pass. Now the Right to Education Act says all children have to be passed.
Okay.
All children are passed. Nobody is failed. There is a policy, say in Maharashtra, for a number of years. That up to 5th standard nobody is to be failed. Now the Right to Education Act is saying nobody is to be failed up to 8th standard. So there is no question, and in fact they are also discouraging examinations.
So, what is the strategy? I mean, what are the challenges in this problem of learning gap and learning deficiency?
The first challenge is that the government must work out a policy of focusing on goals that have to be achieved.
Okay.
In simple terms.
Okay.
Don't do mumbo jumbo of curriculum.
Okay. Learning goals to be achieved. Okay.
No, so simple. Say, like I said, by 3rd or 5th standard, the child should be able to read a text of a given standardized degree of difficulty, right? And should be able to comprehend it. That is a big bold statement.
Okay.
Should be able to write on his own.
Okay.
A few lines.
Okay. And do some maths.
And do so say what you want. So you make a very specific goal, and specific goal need not be a narrow goal, but it basically, see, if you have to complete a math problem, strategize and solve it, then that means you must have reading ability, that you must have a comprehension ability, you should be able to analyze and solve.
Okay.
So that means that is actually the highest order that you can expect from a child. So if you say that this is what I want every child to be able to do at the minimum, then from 1st to 5th, that is what you focus on. If you do that, then the child acquires the ability to navigate any text on his or her own.
Okay.
Then you can teach them 6th, 7th and 8th grade. So 1st to 5th, knowledge is not important, skills are important.
Oh, that's a very important thing. Skills are important and not knowledge. Okay.